Hey, what's up guys? Souza here. So ever since the 0.4 patch notes dropped, a lot of people have been asking me how the Last Lament build is gonna do, if there's been any change to it at all, if it's still gonna work, and how the patch affected it. And to the surprise of many, including myself, it's completely fine. The core pieces of the build that allow the infinite builds to work, such as Last Lament, Eternal Life, or Sacrifice interactions, haven't been mentioned at all. It should be completely fine. That being said, there's been a few small hits to our offense and a few small hits to our defense as well, and a larger hit to quality of life, especially related to moving while shooting, that I wanted to cover. So I wanted to make this video and go over it. But yeah, the short answer is it's gonna be fine. Maybe a bit worse, but everything's gonna be a bit worse, it looks. And we have a few advantages compared to other classes that I'm gonna go over now. So, offensively, Herald of Thunder got a small hit. It went from 143 to 182 at the high end. It's a sizable nerf, but we really shouldn't feel it too much. We were overkilling in damage for clear, and it should be completely fine despite this nerf. The more concerning nerf is defensively, with Ghost Dance. It was nerfed quite heavily, from having 5 maximum shrouds down to 3, and the time to generate a shroud was basically halved. With compressed duration, last patch you were generating a shroud at like every 2.3, 2.2 seconds. After this change, it's probably gonna be a shroud every 4 seconds or something, which is a lot worse. That being said, they said that there's also gonna be 40% less monsters in the game, so maybe your shrouds will be consumed less often, which would kinda outweigh this nerf. Also, on the earlier versions of the build, before you get a Headhunter, which is the more relevant version for League Start scenarios, right? You are probably gonna be using Shavron Satchel, which means you just Life Flask or Energy Shield, right? So you don't care as much for the recovery from Ghost Dance. It was more important on the Headhunter versions of the build, which shouldn't care about this too much either, because when you have a Headhunter and you are mowing through maps, your shrouds aren't getting consumed that often. So this nerf, while definitely big, should be not a problem to this build at any point of progression. The bigger hit definitely was to quality of life. All sources of reduced movement speed penalty, such as Corsair Code, have been removed. So they removed it from Corsair Code, they removed it from the Desecrator modifier on boots, and they removed it from the Farul's Rune of Grace. So you can only get this stat now on the tree unless it's available on the new items somehow from the patch, which I really doubt considering they removed every single source. Which means we would be down to 58% from 100, because there's only 58% on the tree. But they also said that passives that reduced movement speed penalty on the tree has also had their values lowered, but more passives will have this line. So when they mention that, I hope that what they mean is that there will be passives that grant this stat all over the tree and not only on the Deadeye area. If they just add more passives here and here that grant this stat and reduce the value of these ones, then it's gonna be quite annoying, because every single meta build that used a ranged skill in the game, such as Spark, Blood Mages, or Galvanic Shards, or any explosive shot, any kind of ranged projectile skill or area skill, was using this part of the tree to get movement speed penalty reduced, and it's quite cursed. I hope that what they mean by that is that they added a little bit of this stat across the witch or warrior area of the tree, so that there can be more tree variety in the game. If they did, we are gonna probably have to rework our tree somehow and not path this way at all, maybe. There's gonna be a lot of new nodes for Druid here, which are attack damage nodes probably, because Druid has a lot of attacks. So maybe we just don't buff this way and we start buffing this way instead. And then maybe, depending on how the Druid stuff works, we go for armor energy shield instead of evasion energy shield. Who knows? But basically what I'm trying to say is that the main reason we buff this way was for the reduced movement speed nodes, and if they are very weak, or if they are available in other places of the tree, we might have to repath this tree completely. But yeah, sadly, the tree is probably only gonna get released like a couple hours before the patch goes live, so we will not be able to know until then. But this is not a build that you really league start, because you can't play it until you have the crossbow, right? So you are gonna play something else, and while you play that, you will see the tree, and people will show other builds, and we can plan from there. I can post a trio when we get more info. What else is there? Right. So I think the nerfs, I went over them all. It was the Herald of Thunder, the Ghost Dance, and the movement speed penalty. There are other changes that affect us a little bit that I wanted to mention. The main one, that is a buff to us, and I say a buff between quotes because it's not really a buff. We're gonna be the same speed as before, but everyone else is gonna be slower. And that is the fact that they added limit to runes. So all the meta runes that people were using got limits added to them. And the main target of this nerf is the Faru Rune of Chase, right? Everyone was socketing 3 of these in corrupted boots with the Essence of Horror modifier to get a lot of movement speed. It gets multiplied by this, so it was 10% movement speed per rune. People were getting 3 socket runes and getting 30% from this. And that was nerfed in this patch because we're now limited to 1 rune, right? But Lich was never using 2 runes. We used one of these and one of these because we are low life, so we get 10% instead. So while most people will only get 10% movement speed from their boots now, from their socketed effect of their boots, we still get the full value of 30%. So I can confidently claim that movement speed wise, like raw movement speed, Lich is probably gonna be the strongest, or the fastest, I guess, class in the game. If we even have an option for if we get a third socket, we can use the new Guatellis Thesis, which is movement speed while sprinting that costs life. We don't pay life, we just get 50% movement speed while sprinting. If the maps are really as empty as people are expecting them to be, I expect you will be sprinting quite a bit, and this will be quite relevant. So yeah, it's not a buff because we're gonna be the same speed as we were last patch, but everyone else is gonna be slower, right? So comparatively, we get ahead a little bit. Another thing they mentioned in the Q&A that despite not being in the patch notes, Energy Shield might be getting nerfed a bit. So these nodes that are 15, 15, 40 might be like 12, 12, 30%. Who knows how much they mean. But since we are no longer using Corsair Code because of the nerf, we were using Corsair Code 100% because of the reduced movement penalty. Since we are no longer using that, we can go to the Evasion Energy Shield chest and get a lot of Energy Shield from that. So we are gonna be up way more Energy Shield even though the nodes get nerfed, because we're gonna have a lot of base, and base is what we were lacking the most, not percentage, so it should be completely fine Energy Shield wise. Another small hit was the Soul Cores. As I mentioned, a lot of them got added to the limit rule, and one of them is the rage one. It's right here. It got limited to 1 as well, so we lose 4 rage, not a big deal. And Olaf's Flask, which we also use for free because of the low life, we can always press it. It's got buffed a bit. Pretty nice. Another comparative change we got is that regular crossbow builds now have to reload less often. So the uniqueness we have of not having to reload maybe isn't as good anymore. Because the both of these gems, which people used on regular crossbow builds, Ratha's Assault and Arjun Meadow, both got heavily buffed. Ratha's Assault now grants you 5 bolts when you dodge roll, and Arjun's Meadow, instead of 35% on kill, it now loads a bolt every kill you get. So they are both way stronger. That being said, they are also way less common. So who knows how much these are gonna cost. Arjun's Medal was already one of the most expensive gems in the game. It was like 200 plus divines for a lineage gem. So I don't know, maybe they are not even gonna exist until like day 3, day 4, who knows. But yeah, I wanted to mention that other crossbows are gonna have to reload less often as well. But rare crossbows are also probably harder to craft or weaker because of the crafting changes, such as homogenizing not existing anymore and perfect essence of battle being nerfed from +6 to +5. And we just get our same unique crossbow as before, right? Which is quite strong. So yeah, in conclusion, we got a very small offensive nerf, a little bigger but still small defensive nerf, and decent hits to quality of life, depending on how the new nodes on the tree are gonna look like. But we get quite a few opportunities to improve the build in other ways, and we get the benefits of still having 60% movement speed boots, while everyone else will be wearing their 40% at most. Overall, I think this is still a good plan to have on League Start. I will not suggest for you to start Crossbow Lich, because I have never done it, and I don't know how the progression would feel. But I definitely recommend you starting Chaos Dot, playing Chaos Dot for a day or two, and then acquiring the Last Lament and swapping to this instantly. It's what I did in 0.3. It's definitely a good start. I bought my Headhunter on day 3 or something. It was a very strong start. If people are interested in this, maybe I can write up or put up a video with a proper progression for League Start, such as a Chaos Dot build for you to run on day 1, and a first tree for swapping to Last Lament, and then an endgame build, which is gonna look a lot like the endgame build did on 0.3. But yeah, maybe I can make some progression POBs if a lot of people are interested in starting this path. Personally, I'm not gonna do it again, because I'm gonna only be playing this league for like 4 or 5 days before I have to leave for Christmas vacation. So I probably wanna experiment with the druid stuff before I go. So I'm probably gonna plan something around going into druid somehow. But this is definitely a solid plan that has been proven to work in 0.3 and it's still gonna work in 0.4. Let me know if you want a proper progression. And see you later. Hope you all have fun with the new league.